Okay, Logang, this is the
Most real vlog I've ever posted on this channel, and this is the most circumstantially
certain I have ever been that a video of mine will be received well by the public.
I'm not monetizing this video for obvious reasons.
The main reason being that if I did monetize it, I might accidentally spark some controversy, so I'd rather just rest easy knowing that that's not gonna happen.
I think this definitely marks a moment in YouTube history because I'm
Pretty sure that this video is gonna save lives. The video you're watching right now, countless lives saved already.
now with that said,
Buckle the fuck up, because you're never gonna see a video like this again.
Logan Paul is in some hot water after he posted a video allegedly showing the body of a person who recently committed suicide.
The thumbnail had him like posing with the guy.
But he didn't really do anything. He just showed up and this guy was dead.
I think there's someone hanging right there.
The intention was to raise awareness on suicide.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment.
You probably heard about Logan Paul's little accident back in 2017 because it was a pretty big deal, but miraculously Logan got off pretty much scot-free in the end and his career continued to flourish despite his many efforts to ruin it. Filming and laughing at a hanging body in the woods is a little bit disrespectful, so that's what Logan apologized and largely was forgiven for, but the biggest consequence of his actions that day wasn't mentioned anywhere in his apology or in general when the scandal was being covered all over the news. So this one little problem that Logan created continued to silently grow and get bigger because it was never addressed. Logan's lasting impact on Aokigahara Forest has been so far irreversible. It is Japan's most famous forest based at the bottom of Mount Fuji, surrounded by a beautiful part of the country, rich with interesting history. But without the context of Logan Paul, most people wouldn't even know what I were talking about, unless of course I were to refer to it as the suicide forest. This is the intro, so yeah, I'm being vague about everything I've mentioned, but today we're blowing the dust off of the biggest internet scandal ever as we take a look at Logan Paul's impossible career revival, how he obliterated the efforts of a small group dedicated to looking after the forest, and we're gonna go on a little trip, because despite the global reach of this scandal, there was a surprisingly small amount of information when it came to researching for this video, so your boy had to go in firsthand. So I can truthfully say that what we uncover today is just between me and you. I've made a severe and continuous Logan and his cute little minions made several vlogs about their trip to Tokyo in December 2017, and I personally, as a Japanese citizen born and raised, have many friends and family who would find his behavior in these vlogs annoying, at least, bordering on cultural appropriation, which I didn't want to say because this isn't meant to be a Logan Paul hit piece, because that's a very unimpressive and repeated argument to make. But yes, just for the record, Logan Paul was being criticized for his behavior before the incident, and if he was aware of that criticism, then he certainly chose to ignore it. In his final vlog of the Japan series, the Logang heads over to the haunted suicide forest, where they encounter a hanging victim of suicide. Now, should you ever be unfortunate enough to encounter this situation yourself, you have a few options. You could A, feel sad like a human being. You could B, I don't know, call the police, that's always a good one. Or you could always just
Film it.
Drink to it.
Post it.
Bop it.
It was bad. If you weren't around at the time, then you really gotta understand just how terribly this was handled. I mean, they got up close with the camera, they made jokes, they screamed like little babies. Well, actually, that was just Logan. And right before doing shots in the car park, they gave this little half-assed speech about how suicide is not good. And you can tell they really don't care, because one of them even moves to a position during this monologue where he can suckle for more screen time. It's so lame. And I think in this situation, in retrospect, it's more embarrassing to be one of Logan's little yes men than Logan himself. And the same goes for any influencer's friend group where the friends just become employees. Blindly following the leader into situations like this for the mere promise of clout is pretty lame. As you may know, nobody really liked Logan after this, and the attention he received in the form of negative backlash far outweighed his existing fame. Every news outlet had multiple headlines about the story, and Logan went into hiding from the media after his Japan series got taken down from YouTube. During his break from appearing in the public though, he got caught lacking twice by TMZ. The first time being at an airport where he plugs his epic merch, and the second time at an Asian restaurant, because if disrespecting Asians wasn't enough, he now has to eat them. Nice one, Logan. Xbox users at the time could actually buy a game where they play as a YouTuber in a forest searching for bodies to film. Guys, these indie developers are out of control. There was a cute little apology video uploaded where he apologizes, but apart from that, he ain't saying nothing. Johnny Tightlips over here. It was looking for a while like his PR team was all out of ideas, but no. 22 days later, Logan Paul would rise from the ashes with the most effective "I'm a celebrity, get me out of this situation" response video his team possibly could have produced, and it was honestly not bad. He sat down with some real experts, a suicide survivor, and genuinely allowed himself to be put on blast. It was an emotional watch, not just for the heavy topics, but for Logan's truly natural and candid pondering. And that's not a joke. 15% of that video is Logan gazing wistfully into the distance. You can tell he's learned his lesson.
I'm humbled and thankful to say, this is just the beginning.
And that was the end. Logan would never mention suicide ever again, and his career was then saved when my country's greatest singer challenged him to a boxing match.
And honestly, you guys, and I know it's not like I didn't do anything wrong, you know, because I'm taking full accountability, but this just feels so unfair. You guys know me. Usually I'm all about the respect.
Japan is all about the respect.
What did I do last night?
This explains it. I do kind of find myself wishing it was real, you know, a haunted forest where compasses fail and travelers go missing. That sounds cool. That's how I want to go missing, right? Ghosts and paranormal stuff are cool, especially with it being in Japan where everything is like strangely cute and kawaii. Putting the suicide forest there just seems like extra evil. Imagine if the suicide forest was in Slough, you know? Wouldn't really have the same punch, wouldn't be quite as surprising. I'm sure every forest in Slough could give Japan a run for its money. I'm just gonna say, no, the forest is not haunted. If you go there, your compass will still work and your phone will still have reception, or at least, you know, that's my prediction, because I haven't gone there yet, of course. But before we get into why people think this place is haunted, why is it that so many people go there to end their lives? You know, why does the world have an agreed suicide hotspot? And to answer that question, I do need to show a dead body on YouTube, but that's not me being a hypocrite. That's called being a maverick. In the 1800s, Buddhist monks would congregate in the vast Aokigahara forest to begin a meditation ritual which involved spending thousands of days inside the forest on only a diet of leaves and tree bark. When the monks thought they were ready, they would then bury themselves alive for the slim chance of turning their body into a Sokushinbutsu, which is a word used to describe a body which has been self-mummified while still alive. The very slim few of those who actually successfully did this were put on display across various Buddhist temples, most notably Lang Fo Dang, whose decomposed eye sockets were just a little bit too terrifying for all the families and kids that were visiting, so he now wears a pair of Ray-Bans, and he's considered the coolest mummy in the world. And on that front, I'd have to agree. I mean, just look at him. Even I'm feeling average compared to this guy. I guess from that point onwards, Aokigahara was just the place to do it. There's not a whole lot of logic linking the forest's ancient past with suicide to the present day, but one thing that certainly helped the tradition stick around was the absolute marketability of a history this interesting. There was a time when the media was milking this concept for every penny it was worth, leaving us with books, documentaries, and masterpieces such as The Forest.
Your sister went into the forest. It's where lost people go to commit suicide.
Though I would say the biggest spreader of the forest's association to suicide is the countless number of horror-themed influencers and YouTubers that went to the forest to get their own coverage, because at a certain point, the internet developed a far wider reach than traditional media, inordinately speeding up the time it took for a rumor or story like this to spread, and as a result, the number of suicides that took place in the forest went way up. And I'm not saying they wouldn't have happened anyway, I'm just saying they started happening more in the forest. And for the Japanese people who loved this place, Logan's video was a real setback, and the reason why is the main point I want to make in this video. The forest is cared for by a seemingly really small group of volunteers and just genuinely good people who dedicate their time to preserving and looking after the forest and turning away suicidal people towards proper help. Despite their increased efforts over the years, whether it's putting up signs to deter suicidal people, or having more volunteers on site, or opening up its next door neighbor, the Wind Cave, for tourism, or closing public access to the suicide numbers in 2004, their job has never really gotten easier. Although before a certain video came out, a lot of the forest actually was open to exploration from well-meaning tourists, but once Logan Paul imitators started pouring in, they fenced up the entire entrance completely. Like, you can't get in anywhere, and that's not something you can find out online. That is a first-hand finding from yours truly, and you can bet your backside that after a 16-hour flight, 1-hour train, and a 4-hour bus that I took for the sole reason to see this forest, I'm staying right behind that fence. Your boy is not going in. I would not do that. Right? I'm not gonna equate myself to Logan Paul. I'm not gonna sneak into the suicide forest. Why would I do that? Why would I do that when I could just stay right behind the fence? But stay tuned, cause maybe I do.
Yeah, okay. I think this is the spot. Yeah, yeet! You guys can just hang it wherever. I don't really care. I'm gonna go flip this bottle.
Much love, Logan. I know this video is gonna be great, but I just don't think this rope's gonna be strong enough to hold up the body.
Yeah, I don't see why we couldn't have just gotten real rope.
Oh my god. I tried to tell you guys, I wanted real rope, but they don't sell it in this area. Or knives, or bathtubs, or toasters. Yeah. Any other interruptions before I make history?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, I know this video is gonna be dope.
Yeah, you're the best, Logan. You're the maverick.
Thank you. Guys, this is gonna make history. People are finally gonna look at us like the heroes that we actually are. Suicides are gonna be prevented all over the world, and it's all gonna be thanks to me, Logan Paul.
Thank you, Logan. Saving lives is really dope.
Yeah, and I just want to say, you're the best. You're the maverick.
I know.
Suicide is not a joke. Depression and mental illnesses are not a joke. In no way. This just became very real, and obviously a lot of people are going through a lot of shit in their lives. And
we just want you guys to know that if you're going through anything, like, we're here for you.
We're here for you.
Your friends, your family.
The Logang's here for you.
Admittedly, I feel some embarrassment saying that I love Japan, because over the last 2 decades, things like fetishization and weeabooism and anime have made it the dream destination for a lot of disrespectful people, and the same can be said for pretty much every East Asian country. I also understand that despite leaving the place exactly as I found it, some people would deem my visit to the forest as disrespectful. I mean, some of my friends here in Scotland certainly did, and while I would personally disagree and say that I'm not a hypocrite in my criticisms of Logan Paul, and our 2 visits are definitely not comparable, I'm always open to criticism myself, and I always reply to every comment. What I will say is that I tried my very best to be respectful, while still knowing that not everyone was gonna be a fan. Also, this seems like my last chance to mention, but some of the background music in Logan's original Suicide Forest video was made by one of my favorite bands ever, Alta. I actually saw them live in Paris and nearly got detained at the airport. It was unreal. My dad, who basically is my ghostwriter at this point, said it would be stupid not to reach out for a comment, and it turns out he was right, because the band's vocalist and my favorite solo musician, Mr. J. Medeiros, got back to me hours later with more insight than I possibly could have ever asked for. Amazingly, Alta actually didn't know their music had been used in Logan's video, which is crazy, but understandably, they say as a musician, it's impossible to make a name for yourself if you don't allow your music to be platformed on platforms that you don't necessarily agree with morally. Obviously, that doesn't mean they would have allowed Logan to use their music in his videos if they knew what was going on. Thank you very much, Alta. Very based. Please go back on tour. God, I had the perfect lighting, and now I think the sunlight is kind of fading. And I think it's gonna rain. Wow. It's kind of surreal being in here, because I remember when the video came out, my brother called me into his room and he was like, "Yo, Jack, watch this." And now I'm in the room with that I'm in the forest. The atmosphere and the vibe here is kind of just, is weird. It's more surreal being in here for the reason that I've seen this place before in Logan Paul's video, but it's also kind of upsetting and eerie for the reason that people have killed themselves here as well. I think if they were to open it back up to the public, it would be fine. I see why they closed it after Logan Paul's video was made, because I'm sure a bunch of annoying tourists like myself would have just showed up to take pictures like myself, but now I think we're at a point where the novelty of Logan's horrible video has worn off, and this place can be enjoyed for what it once was again, because the longer they keep it closed, in my opinion, the longer it stays as the haunted forest that you mustn't go into. Maybe it's closed because there are still bodies hanging around. I went up to one of the guys that works for this tourist attraction and I was like, "Sumimasen, o ki gahara wa doko desu ka?" And he brought out someone that speaks like perfect English to help me, which was much appreciated. You could probably see that I was struggling. And he described my request by going, "Ah." So yeah, this place definitely still has a reputation. Okay, well, my bus is gonna be very soon, then I have to get another bus, then a train. So I don't want to be late, even though I think the way I've scheduled things, I'm gonna miss the second bus anyway. So yes, wait. Suicide is no joke. Suicide is very real. Speak to some... Logan Paul, you're so dumb. When I left the forest, I was immediately yelled at by an older man. And it wasn't an angry yell, it was more of a worried one. And I think for a brief moment, this man probably thought that he was gonna have to talk me down from a terrible decision. And I do mean a brief moment, because let's be real, I did look like a tourist, but I was also 17 at the time, so I can tell why he'd want to be like extra careful, considering he was a guard of the forest. Him and I had a conversation that I will never forget, and I walked away from it with a great deal of respect for those people. I mean, these people work a really draining but very noble job, which I can imagine is not a whole lot of fun. And I don't know if any suicide prevention volunteer from any place will ever see this video, but we should be tremendously grateful for them, and they're the reason that I'm making this video, albeit 2 years after I went to the forest. I know this wasn't meant to be a hit piece or a commentary video, but it would seem that Logan Paul has only gotten worse since then. He, from what I've seen, is a violent, angry, drug and animal abusing scammer of an influencer who I'm not too sad to see lose most of his cultural relevance. Allegedly, because he does like to sue people. But if me saying that makes this just another Logan Paul criticism video, then so be it, because I don't think YouTube is gonna let this one be seen by that many people anyway. Regardless, thank you all so much for watching and for still being here. I'll be responding to every single comment, as always, and I sincerely hope that you have a nice day.
Drink to it. Wait.